This program is brought to you by Emory University.
On the day after Christmas in 1919, Boston sold to the New York Yankees, they were then a perennial second division team, a promising left-handed pitcher named George Herman Ruth. It was the best Christmas present of all. Generations of passionate and long-suffering Red Sox fans have blamed Harry Frazee for trading away the Big Bam, but that's probably unfair. There have been many other trades or non-signings in baseball which proved nearly as calamitous. The St. Louis Cardinals might have signed Mickey Mantle well before he appeared on the Yankees' radar screens. It was Boston again. For years, the Red Sox never seemed to have missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity, who passed on Willie Mays because the report on him was he had trouble hitting curveballs. Even the Dodgers, an organization which had a long and successful history of finding and developing baseball talent in hitherto uncultivated places, had Roberto Clemente sitting on the bench in the minor leagues until he was picked up by a sharp-eyed scout for the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Babe was arguably the first popular icon created by 20th century media, and he thrived on media attention like mold in a petri dish. Would he have grown into the Sultan of Swat if he'd played 76 home games each year in the relative backwater of Boston's Fenway Park? The answer's probably not. Ty Cobb once said it was Ruth's luck to have spent the first several years of his baseball career as a pitcher, since pitchers then, as now, weren't expected to hit for averages, much less for power. Ruth, Cobb said, was free to experiment with his big swing until he had perfected the art of long ball hitting. After all, nobody cared if a pitcher struck out 3 times a game. But by the time Ruth moved to right field in Yankee Stadium, his legendary swing was ready. Ruth's impact on the game was metamorphic. The home run, says Michael Mandelbaum, introduced an outsized heroic element into what had been a game of cramped inches and tactics. Babe Ruth was the first big media star. Even now, every schoolchild knows his name. Baseball fans know about the home runs, the celebrity status. Newspapers at the time ran a syndicated column on the Babe's daily activities. They knew about his astonishing salary. According to one widely told story, when Ruth was asked whether he thought it was right that he had made more money in 1931 than the president, he had made $80,000 compared to the president's $75,000, Ruth answered, "I had a better year than he did." Even the look of the game is in part Ruth's doing. The Babe struggled with obesity all his adult life, ironically until the last few years when cancer ate away at his body. In his playing days, his weight fluctuated between 215 and 260, spread mostly around the chest and middle of his 6'3" frame. In an attempt to minimize Ruth's unattractive bulk, Yankee owner Jake Ruppert ordered pinstriped uniforms for his team in the belief that the vertical stripes would make his most conspicuous player seem a little slimmer. The Yankees weren't the first baseball team to wear pinstripes. Washington, Detroit, and Brooklyn had experimented with the look in the late 19th century, but they were surely responsible for popularizing them. Today, as many as 10 major league teams wear pinstripes on some of their uniforms. The style is widespread, especially among high school and college teams. Pinstripes somehow seem classier than solid colors. The home uniforms of Chamblee High School in Atlanta, Georgia, where my son played, were white with navy blue pinstripes. Later, he told me that Yale's players especially favored one of their team's 2 home uniforms, a dove gray jersey and pants with black pinstripes. Was Ruth the most prodigious home run hitter of all time? Almost certainly. Roger Maris's record of 61 home runs in a single season is genuine, but Maris hit only 275 in his career. Henry Aaron's lifetime total of 755 home runs easily tops Ruth's 714, but the most Aaron ever hit in a year was 47. Comparisons between Ruth and Mark McGwire or Ruth and Sammy Sosa, Ruth and Barry Bonds will be forever unsettled because of their use of steroids. Ruth himself certainly ingested vast quantities of substances that did his body no good, but it has yet to be proved that hot dogs and bourbon contribute in productive ways to the development of muscle mass. Was Babe Ruth the best player of his era? Without question. Is he the most famous athlete of all time? Arguably so. Latter-day candidates for the title, like Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan, could never, even in the midst of their most sensational activities, whether sporting or not, they could not claim, as Ruth could, to be the most photographed person in the world. Even now, when public figures publish their most mundane thoughts daily to tens of thousands of Twitter or Facebook fans, Ruth's ubiquity knows no equal. No athlete before or since Ruth has ever saturated the public consciousness to such an extent. At the height of his fame, dozens of newspapers throughout the country carried a daily feature, "What Babe Ruth Did Today." Ruth was the first, and still the biggest, media superstar. He died before the 20th century was half gone, on August 16, 1948. Yet early in 2013, a young baseball fan, born almost 50 years after Ruth's death, said this: "I have a framed black and white photograph of Ruth and Gehrig shaking hands after a home run, and I have also saved a box of Wheaties from my childhood with a picture of Ruth on the box. I have Ruth memorabilia and never saw him play. Yet to me, he is still the greatest."
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.